Hey guys. So today is December 28th at 3:30. Uh, I've been missing from my lives for several weeks. And first, it was Thomas and I were tied up in a 2-week murder trial, so I was simply unable. And then once we finished the murder trial, I had a ton of work to catch up on. So I did that, and so now I'm back. And then I had I haven't had a lot of time to put together a good topic for this week, but uh, there was several people had asked me what I thought about that case in Michigan where the school shooting incident, where his parents have now been arrested in connection with his crimes, and what did I think about that? And I guess part of that is, do we think as defense attorneys this could start to be a trend? And you know, when I first heard about it as a defense attorney, my gut reaction was it's not okay. I mean, holding someone responsible for the criminal acts of another just doesn't sit right with me on its face. But then, in that case, we start to learn so much more about the events and the family situation leading up to the actual shooting that I think you almost have to look at it on a case by case basis. I mean, here, there was, I guess, an initial report by the school that a teacher had seen the boy looking up ammunition on his phone. And so the parents were alerted. And then, mom texts the boy the same day and says, LOL, I'm not mad at you. You just need to learn not to get caught. Uh, they had just purchased the gun several days before for the boy as an early Christmas present. And apparently his mother had taken him to a shooting range that weekend so he could try it out. And then I guess the teacher observes a drawing that he made, which was alarming enough that she took a picture of it to alert school officials. And, it said ominous things on it, like, my life means nothing. I need help, or I can't make it stop. Please help me. And it, had like a picture of a gun and a bullet and said something like blood everywhere. So this prompted a call to the parents apparently to come into the school where they have some type of discussion, and the parents are told to get the boy counseling. The decision is made, I guess, by the parents and the school that he can stay in school, that they do not need to take him home. And it looks like maybe some explanation for that on the school's behalf was they didn't want to send the boy home to an empty home. And then, of course, like an hour after that, he starts shooting up the school. Then, mom and dad go on the run, so it looks like their attorneys say they didn't. They were just hiding out for their own safety, but did plan to turn themselves in. I don't know. But I think that across the country, it is possible that we will see more of this, depending upon the individual circumstances and what they have found out. So the prosecution in Michigan has, made all sorts of allegations about the family and the boy being depressed and the parents knowing that he was depressed, and something about his closest and only friend had moved away, and that further drove him into depression. Uh, there has been some allegations that he's done inhumane things to animals. I think there's an allegation that he had a dead bird's head, a baby bird's head in a jar in his room. Uh, just weird things like that. So I guess I don't think we've seen this type of prosecution in the country before after a mass shooting. But at the same time, I don't know that they were able to gather that much evidence that the parents knew or should have known that something was wrong, within that time period. It's a hard call for me to make. My son, as many of you know, take him hunting every year. But he's completed the hunter safety course so that he can have a hunting license. That's on the rifle side. On the pistol side, when I introduced him to pistol shooting, I actually had him trained one-on-one with a competition shooter, first in safety and then proper handling and how to fire the weapon. So I know that my son knows, the proper way to handle weapons, okay? I'm not sure, I think in all fairness, everything I've read is from news reports just like anyone else, but buying a gun, taking a kid to a gun range one weekend isn't really, well, and being taken by mom, who arguably doesn't have any shooting experience that we're aware of, and kind of turning that kid loose with a firearm is kind of reckless. So, like I said, when I first heard about it, it just felt wrong. Why are we going to hold parents responsible for the actions of a child? But then when we find out that there were so many red flags that the parents could have known or intervened or gotten the kid help, and maybe not made the gun accessible to him. So I think it is possible that we will see charges like this in the future across the country, again, depending upon the facts and circumstances of each individual case, and what law enforcement can put together by way of an investigation so quickly. If you read up on it, you'll see that lots of people have opined on this, and it's kind of a wait and see. If you read the prosecution's words themselves from, I guess, prior press conferences and some court appearances, she admits that it's a new ground. This is not normal, but in the state's eyes in Michigan, the red flags were so egregious that they just can't go unnoticed. So I think that if parents continue to turn a blind eye to what their children are going through and then bad things happen, I do think we could see more types of prosecution like this. There is a crime in Texas of allowing a child or a minor access to a firearm. But obviously this prosecutor's going for much more. She wants the parents, I think, held for manslaughter for the people that died. And so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. As an aside, it looks like both mom and dad hired attorneys for themselves, but did not hire an attorney for their son. It's reported that mom texted a friend and said something to the effect of, my son's fate is sealed, so now I got to protect myself. So I guess that was the justification for getting herself an attorney and not for her son. Hopefully the defense will do, intense psychological evaluations on the boy and figure out, what led to this and how did it come to this, and what could we learn from that would help us prevent these types of things from happening in the future, because it's just becoming too common. As you all know, we had it happen here in Galveston County in Santa Fe, and looking back, I don't know, and there may have been an investigation into what the parents knew or should have known. I don't know, because that case is still ongoing, so there's not much public information for us to know. But I do think that, especially if this prosecutor in Michigan is successful, I do think you'll see an increase in this type of prosecution across the country. Sorry I didn't have much more for today. That was it. I see Mom, I see Margaret. Today, I guess I'll cut it short. Let me see. Next Tuesday will be the second. No, it will be the first week of the new year, and so on Tuesday we should be back in full swing. We have been informed there were going to be jury trials starting next week in Galveston County. There was an article in the paper today or yesterday. Apparently the COVID numbers in the county are very high right now due to the Omicron variant, and they have now suspended juries for at least the first week of January, so we won't have any jury trials starting next week. I think that the presiding judge here is just going to keep in touch with Dr. Kaiser and, try to make that judgment call on a weekly basis depending upon the surge in COVID numbers. So I won't be in trial next week, it looks like, and so I should be here on Tuesday, and I'll come up with a subject for discussion then. I hope y'all all have a happy new year, and I will see y'all next year.